Thank you, everyone, for making the time to join us today. It's a really good turnout. I'd just like to thank each and every one of you for not only supporting us, but using our product and also giving us the opportunity to deliver all these amazing features that we're bringing out in this release. Big shout out to you. This release has sort of like morphed from being just a general release to a really big one. And it's thanks to a lot of our clients, because a lot of these features we did bring out were sponsored by clients or driven by clients to bring onto the platform. So thanks again. 3.19 is definitely a memorable release, and it's got a lot of really cool functionality. For those of you who don't know me, I am Carl LeBron. I'm one of the co-founders at Sparksmiths, and I'll be taking you through the demo today. I will be joined by Jacqueline, who is our product manager, and Jacqueline will be showing you a really cool new addition to our product. And this is a generally available on-site capability that will allow you to download the app onto your phones, be able to do in-person badge printing, as well as the ability to run your in-person conferences directly from our application. So Jax has got some really cool things she's going to be discussing today. Right. I'm not going to bore you with slides. We're going to jump straight into the cool stuff. So I am going to swap over to a live demo that I'll be doing today. Just let me know once the screen is up and running, and then okay, amazing. This should look pretty familiar to everyone on this call, unless obviously you're a new customer. But this is essentially the EventSpark standard app. This is where most of you will be editing, creating, and manipulating your different events. So the first feature is actually quite a small feature that we've added, but it's a super popular feature, and it was one of the features that came from our idea exchange. So for those of you who don't know, we do have an ideas portal where you can actually log your ideas. And if those ideas get relevant amount of votes, we do try our best to implement them. And one of those is the ability for you to control what logo you see directly on the page. So it was a commercial decision for us to have sort of one logo per organizing entity. That's sort of from the beginning, that's how we wanted it. Each organizing entity would be essentially a different business unit or a different brand, and that would essentially have a different logo. But thanks to our clients and your feedback, you really want to be able to have different logos based on your event and not have to change your whole organizing entity. So what we've done is we've given you the ability now to add a logo directly to the event. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag one of my logos that I built courtesy of AI. So I'm going to drag that onto the event. I'm going to upload it, and I am going to save this as a logo. Now that's obviously the important part where you click add logo and click save. Now if I open up that events page, you'll notice that we will have a different logo. So again, small feature, but I wanted to open with it because I know that you have different events. Some of those events might be sponsored events and you want to show your client's branding, or you want to show a donor branding on that particular event and not have to change it up. Some of it might be based on different departments. So if alumni have a different badge to graduates, or banking has a different logo to insurance, you have that ability now to change it on the fly. Cool little feature, nice icebreaker. And that leads us into a whole bunch of our new functionality. So what I'm going to start with today is I'm going to start with the agenda. One of the things we've given you the ability to do now is to have a collapsible agenda that shows you essentially just the overview. Once you click down on it, it can show you if there's a venue and if there are any speakers linked to that specific event venue. So this would show you that the venue Santon, if there was a speaker, just say Michael Farr, that speaker would be displayed here. And then it shows you all that additional detail. So how do you actually set that up? Super easy. If you click on the content section of the system, this is where you can create your custom tabs. This is where you've got your FAQ questions. So if I jump back here, you'll see I've got my FAQs. I've got my additional services. These are some of the services that we offer, by the way. And then we've got some more information with a video embedded. But each one of these tabs essentially is driven by the content tab. So we're going to scroll down to the sessions tab, and we're going to click on lead source tracking. We can see that this one has a venue, it has an overview, and a small description, right? Maybe I want to link that now to a host. So I'm going to click here, and I'll make the host Jacqueline. Now, simply by navigating back to my event, there's a couple ways to do it, but I generally just click directly on those navigation links. And you'll see now that when I click on the agenda, I explode out that agenda. Firstly, it's going to show me lead source tracking, Jacqueline Cap, product owner. And if I click on that, it gives me a bit of an overview of who Jacqueline is as the speaker. So this is a really cool feature for those of you who do have sessions. We really feel it simplifies the sessions without making it too bulky, and it gives you that ability to add your venues and your speakers directly to that component. We have also put a lot of effort into the accessibility of this feature. So you'll see now that all of the components within the agenda are also accessible and tabbable. Right. Following on from this capability is what happens if you want to see the speaker? Well, now we've added a whole bunch of cool capability around speakers. So in our last release, we did give you the ability to create different speaker sections. So you'll notice that we've got under our speakers, we've got Jax, myself, as well as Noel, and then we've got sales and support. And essentially, you'll notice that this looks quite a bit different to our older versions. So we've given you the ability to now create a card, which is essentially creating a border. This is a really cool feature. We actually demoed this to quite a few different product owners, quite a few different clients, and they really like the idea of having these cards. We then have the ability to change what this image looks like. Is it round? Is it square? Is it a squircle? Which is something that our devs kind of figured out how to do, squircles. And then if you click down on that information, it does show you your LinkedIn profile as well as what sessions you are linked to. And this layout is really clean, really nice looking, and it's something we're pretty excited about. So if I go back to my speakers, you're probably asking, how do we get this to look like this? And it's super easy. So from your event, there's two places you need to think about. The first thing is the microsite. So again, I'm going to scroll down to my microsite. When I click on my microsite, this is going to control the size, basically. So the microsite is the page. The page has different sizes. It has different tabs. It has different menus. So when you think of like creating bigger sizes on the page, think of the microsite. On the microsite, you'll see that we can change from medium card to large card to small card and even panel, which was our older view. And I still like the panel. I think it looks rad. So if I refresh this and I click on speakers, you'll see that we've got our existing panel view. You can still split it out by the type of speaker you want. Again, in real time, if I come back here and I change it up maybe to large, if I just give that a quick refresh, you'll notice that these are going to be the largest icons you're going to create. Any larger, I think, gets a little bit unplayable. Cool. So that is how you change the sizes. Now, I want to talk about how we can edit how that's being displayed to the user. The different borders, the different shapes, that is going to be controlled by the theme. So if you click on the theme and you scroll down to a new section called Speaker Images and Borders, this is where you can choose the thumbnail. So we had a squircle. We could make it a square or a rounded square or a circle. So this would be our circle. And you get the idea. It will just change that image as you go. Another thing is, remember I mentioned that you can show the card. We call it a border in our configuration, but that's actually a card functionality, and it's really a cool feature. You can turn that off. If you keep it on, you can also control the radius in pixels. So this was a feature that somebody asked for specifically in our beta, like, hey, if it's 1 pixel at the moment, can I make it 8 or 4, just to make that look a bit more poppy? So we're going to leave that at 4 because we've essentially turned it off. And I'll just show you what that looks like in terms of just getting rid of those borders. This will now look like a floating panel. And it will only border once you hover over that. Okay. So once you hover over that component, that's when it will border. And again, fully accessible. I'm basically just tabbing through these different components. Right. So that is essentially the new capability around the speakers. I hope you really like it. It's something that does look really nice. It's very clean, but we've still given you the ability to actually determine what sections you want and what sizes you want. You can even have different mixes of what that looks like, and I'll show you that later on in the demo. Now, while I'm on the themes, you will notice something. If you've been using EventSpark for a while, you might notice that the theme has slightly changed. So previously we had all of the information in the side panel, the right-hand side panel. We've now decided to move that over to the center of the screen, right? It gives you more real estate to figure out what kind of styling you want. But most importantly, we've kept it a similar configuration. So you can insert your hex code if you have the hex code. If you don't have your hex code, you can go and find whatever color that might be. So this is our standard themes. But over the last couple months, based on the enormous amount of feedback we've had on the product and the tons of new clients we've brought on, people have been wanting us to really change the themes to not only make it like a simple layout, but what happens if you really want to customize it? Like you really want to, accentuate all the different colors on the screen. So we've actually introduced a different theme mode called Advanced. So for any of you who have had limits on the previous theme, I think this is something that's going to be really, really useful for you. And this is our advanced theme editor. This gives you the ability to basically, we break it down into these different components. It gives you the ability to focus specifically on the banner, the background, the text, the page, the main content section, the background, the text, the headings. And then we've broken down all the sub parts of that component. So primary buttons, secondary buttons, progress bars, links, panels, and then the secondary buttons and panels as well as the footer. So this really does give you now the ability to customize probably 99% of what you're going to see on that front end, almost giving you the ability to have light themes, dark themes, and really have those complementary. But something that is even one step further than that is, and it's something we have had in the product for some time, but not too many clients are aware of it. If you want 99%, but you want the extra 1%, you want the 100% of customization, you can still upload style sheets. So if you want to upload a style sheet into the application, you can do that and you can completely override that front end. But we do believe, based on our testing, that we've got most of the colors covered, and we've got some detailed documentation on our portal that explains where all of these colors come together and what they talk to essentially. So again, something we're super excited about and something that really came to fruition because of our clients. So thank you so much for that bit of functionality. Right. So now I've spoken quite a bit about the front end capability. I want to take us through an event functionality. So what do I mean by that? This is our new invitation capability. So if I view this page, it's looking really good. I've got my AI logo that I've uploaded. I've got my new theme looking really nice. I've got my editable agenda. I've got my speakers, my FAQs, but now I actually want to start getting people to this event. And initially, we thought it was going to be an open registration event, but we've decided to make it invitation only. So changing an event to invitation only is a real simple process. Under registration options, we are going to change this from open to invitation only. Now, traditionally in invitation only, you would see the page like this, right? You cannot register for the event, but if you were already registered or if you had an invitation, you could go back to your registration and update, edit it, cancel, depending on what functionality the event manager has given the event, as well as you can actually query your invitation. So this is a newer feature we've added, where if you have been invited, you can go and find that invitation from here. But that's mostly what we had before. So what's new, you might be asking. So what is new now is the ability for you to control what happens in that invitation. So do you want to set it to page not found? So if a random person, maybe comes across this page somehow, instead of them being able to see your event, they just get hit by a page not found. Now, this is fully customizable, so don't mind the branding. You can obviously customize it and put whatever you want here, but this is my page not found. You might say, Carl, cool, like we don't want to completely hide the page. We want to show some parts of that page. So we want to actually show the page, like the buttons, we want to hide those. We want to hide the banner, the title, the dates, the tagline, the venue, and the agenda and the speaker. Maybe we just want like that stuff hidden. It was a bit random, but I sort of just chose a few things there. Now, this is where you're going to see the page actually change because now we've hidden a whole bunch of the stuff from the page. So now we don't have a banner. We've just got a home page. We don't have the registration buttons. We don't have the venues. We just have FAQs, additional information, and more information, and the home page. So again, if you want to just add one level of detail more, you can do that. Again, really cool functionality. Lastly, you can hide all the content, but you can keep the page active. So if you wanted to just hide all the content on this page, but keep the page active, you can also change the verbiage of this. So just like to tell people, hey, this is an invitation only event. Like you cannot register. If you're already registered, click here. Or if you did get invited, if you think you got invited, you can check over here. So that is a really cool bit of functionality. Big shout out to the client that really drove that functionality. I think it's really going to help not only yourselves, but a lot of our clients in the capability of the tool. So thank you so much for that one. So yeah, that is our new invitation capability. Then obviously you can set it to view all content, which you've already seen. So I'm sort of not going to really show what that looks like. Okay, perfect. Right. So now we want to show a little bit about not only the invitation mechanisms, but we want to show you some new features that were external to EventSpark that we've brought in to the application. So what might those be? So I'm just going to jump over to another one of my demo environments, and you'll see we've got an event called Spark Day. So Spark Day has got slightly different theme, but immediately, what do you notice? You notice we've got this pop-up banner. And for any of you who are looking at things like GDPR and POPI and cookie protection and privacy protection and all those things, you can now embed tools like User-Centrics, which is a really fantastic tool, into your pages. So we do that through our GTM capability, our Google Tag Manager capability, but you can now embed these tools into the pages. So if these privacy statements and Papaya and GDPR are important to you, you can embed these. And once embedded, you'll notice that that privacy capability will stay active. So I can bring that up and I can actually go and update that capability as I want. Right, so that's the first bit of new capability we've brought into the platform, especially around privacy. Another capability is, especially for those of you who are running a lot of public events, we have had a few queries to say, look, guys, we're running a lot of public events. They're not invitation. Essentially, anyone can register for them. We just want to make sure that we don't have bots registering on our pages. We want to make sure that people are human, essentially. So sort of what could be more human than a little bot on a web page asking you if you are human. But that is something that we have added into our platform. So if Kyle comes along and Kyle is a bot and Kyle tries to register, it's not going to allow me to do anything. Okay. I've got to use this friendly captcha. I got to click on that. It's got to authenticate that I am a human before it allows me to actually go in and register for that event. Awesome. So now I'm registered for that event. You might be asking, Kyle, where do we embed that capability? So we're going to go back to our event page. So we go back here, we go to event setup, and this is more for your sort of EventSpark admins. In our latest release, you'll see that there's a privacy and protection section that has now been added to the setup. You'll be able to select global or EU. EU is very specific around what data actually gets passed through any of these tools. So if you do decide to use the EU friendly captcha, you will need an additional subscription with friendly captcha, whereas global is a lot less strict on the rules around that privacy protection, and it's also less stringent on the amount of free captchas you can get. So again, global is probably the more popular one, and then the EU one, definitely if you do have those super stringent rules. Once you set it here, then it will apply onto your events in the front end. Okay, so now Kyle has essentially registered for that event, and we're just going to have a quick look at the email that has come in for Kyle. So if I click on this, what do you notice now? Another amazing new functionality, add to wallet. So if I click on this functionality, I'm using my Windows machine. So it's going to say like add to my wallet. I can add it to my Google Wallet. I can see one of our developers has included this pretty awesome photo, but really you can have your own company branding. You can also, it supports Google Wallet as well as Apple Wallet. So you get both of those amazing capabilities. And that is going to be a segue into our next part of the demo, which is going to be showing you our new check-in application. Before I get to that new check-in application, I must just say that you do not have to use the wallet functionality. You can still use the standard QR code that we can embed in a ticket. We can embed it in the email. That still works perfectly. If you do want to offer the wallet capability, then you'll need a Pass Creator account, and you will link your Pass Creator account directly with your Salesforce environment. And then you can start adding these awesome wallets to your users, or well, to your delegates' phones. Now, where's that editable? If I click on events and functions, again, we've made this real simple for everyone. Try not to overcomplicate things. On the event itself, you have a section called digital pass options. You can switch that on if you have it, or you can switch it off. If it's on, you will work with Pass Creator to give you one of these codes. And once you got these codes, you simply just embed it. Bob's your uncle, you'll be able to start using the check-in capability with the application. Cool. Another thing you would have seen, which has been in the app for some time, is in my email. An ICS was sent to my email, which will automatically add that event to my calendar, which is amazing capability. If you're not using it right now, I would really recommend you start using that capability. Right. So before I hand over to Jacqueline, I just want to quickly show just a few slides around this. So it seems like it's wanting me to stop sharing before I can present for whatever reason. So I'm just going to quickly bring this up. So a few of you may have seen us at a couple of events throughout the world. Um, we do a lot of the Salesforce events using this technology. We also have quite a few beta clients that have been using this technology. This technology is now generally available, so it's GA. And by the end of this month, you'll all be able to sort of start using it if you decide to add this onto your license. But basically, what this allows you to do is you can still use the mobile check-in form that comes with the product, the one that opens up within the browser. But this is an app that you can download directly onto your Android device or onto your Apple device. And with this app, you can check people in, basic check-in. So just check someone in, or you can even do badge printing with this application. So this is lightning fast check-in, badge printing, smart management. You can sort of choose how many times somebody can check in, how many times they can't check in. All of this data goes back into your Salesforce environment the exact same way your previous check-in did. It just allows you to have, multiple tablets running on that user. Now, if I jump to the next slide, if you are not able to do this yourselves, we can support you. So we do have teams. We have a Go event solution, which is basically a printer, a couple of tablets, and a phone in a box. We ship that to you. Or we actually have a team that can come on site and help you with your bigger events. We have teams in North America. We have teams in Europe. We have teams in Australasia. We have teams in South Africa. So we've got teams basically all over that are ready to be deployed. If you do need some assistance with some of your bigger events, we can help you on that. If you do also just want to learn more about this capability, if you have your own internal capability, your own tablets and maybe printers, then we can also get on a call with you and definitely guide you on how to best use this capability. Last but not least, before we get on to Jax, is the mobile app is also now generally available. So for anyone who is running conferences, whether they're large or small, you'll now have the ability to integrate into our mobile app. This can give you a lot of new functionality for on the day of your event. Things like, for instance, info, the program of the day, QR scanning of barcodes, any document management for downloads, push notifications. Hey guys, get to the next breakout session. It's starting in 2 minutes. News feeds, maps, sponsors, speakers, live streams, floor plans, you name it. This app has got it, right? So this app is now also going to be generally available from the end of the month, plugs directly into EventSpark, and you can push and pull the data. Some of the things you'll still do from within this app, some of the configurations, but the majority of stuff can push from your EventSpark platform. Again, if you want to find out more about this app, we will be having another webinar just because it is quite a big tool. Or you can reach out to your account executive or to your success manager, and we can arrange some time to take you through this application. Okay, so that is the segue into actually demoing the first part of the app, which is the check-in and printing. And I'm going to hand over to Jacqueline, who's going to do that for us today.
Hi guys, I'm going to be doing this demo on my computer. So I have an emulator that's going to emulate my tablet on my computer. The reason being is so that I don't have to switch devices, switch sharing devices each time I do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen so you can all see. Which one is it? It's the screen. Okay, so I've got my screen over here that has obviously the familiar page of EventSpark Setup, and I've got a new app called EventSpark On-Site Setup. It looks like this, or you could just type it in your waffle and you can find it. It does require permission sets, and it does require it being enabled in your org. And I'm going to, basically what I can do here is I can see all of my events, but this isn't what's going to be displaying on my app. This is where the hub where I set everything up. So I create my app configurations. What is an app configuration? Well, basically it's similar to your event Microsite template for your actual event home page, except it's for your device, whether it's a tablet or a mobile phone. And you can configure it how you'd like through this device. What it also does is it links your preferred theme, which is the EventSpark themes, exactly how we use EventSpark themes, and your check-in form, which is found under event form. So you can access these objects over here on this on-site space and configure it how you would like to configure it. I'm just going to use the general EventSpark registration RSVP form on this demo, just because it's a more simple form, but you can use your custom forms, you can use longer forms, pretty much your pick list drop down, your multi-select pick list, etc. You can set that all up. Another thing that you can set up in this space is your badge template. So I'm not going to go too much into detail on the badge itself, but you can create your badge, and we'll create some templates on the badge in general, and there is some configuration that goes in on that. One thing I'd like to do is I'd like to add a description just to make sure that when I am on the tablet, I can see exactly what this setup is all about and know exactly what I'm using. So we can set up what we would like to display on the app. So maybe we want to only display and use the check-in. So Carl was showing us the pass creator. So maybe we want to only use QR code. Or maybe we aren't using pass creator, we aren't using QR codes, we're not sending them out, we'll just use type ahead. In this example, I'm going to use both. In addition to other like template layout or layout setup, you can set up your camera position, whether it's left or centered, because every device is different. You can set up your background for the tablet and a customized message depending on which type of mode you're using. So we can use check-in and print, check-in only, or fast print, meaning that they don't need to even look at the form. They just scan the QR code and bam, badge is printed. You could also select multi-search or single search, which pretty much means that if you have very strict security, you don't want people to type in the name Michael and see 4 or 5 different Michaels. We have 3 Michaels in our office, so you can imagine how many Michaels there could be at a 200-person event. But in that case, if it was single search, you'd have to be very uniquely typing in an email or your name and surname to be able to see your information. So I'm going to use multi-search for now, and we'll just go through with that. Other things like not being able to check in multiple times or reprint multiple badges, as well as this is where you would set your walk-ins on the on-site app. It does override the event function in terms of walking into an event. Okay, so I'm going to just save this, and there's not much else to that at the moment. And I'm just going to bring up my emulator over here. So what I have here is, above here, I have my print server. It's just a technical thing that we'd have to set up, or you'd set up on your device, which would print your badge. And I'm going to print to Microsoft PDF just to show you on this demo, because I can't show you my printer, or you won't be able to see my printer in this example. On my first page, I'm able to select my event. I'm going to choose this Basecamp event, and this is my print server. If I'd like to add or print badges, basically that's exactly what I need to do. So it opens to a default layout. So what I have over here is one of my app configs. I don't want to use this app config, but this is the default one that I set up. So I can have one-to-many app configs to events and one-to-many events to app configs. So I can use an app config multiple times, or I can use I can assign it to as many events as I want, or I can have many app configurations on one event. I'm going to use the check-in and print, and you'll see how this changes. On every device, you might have multiple devices at an event, and one might have a QR code scanner, a camera on the left-hand side, whereas one might have it on the center. So it just helps with the user using their QR code guide their hand to the camera. It's a pretty nice feature. And also being able to use the back camera. This helps with mobile devices. If you're holding the mobile phone in your hand, it allows the host to just sign in the guest and do the quick print really nicely and quickly. So you can see how my theme changed over here, and I've got the ability to use a scan for QR code already registered, and I have walk-in enabled. Had I turned walk-in off over here on my app configuration, this whole entire panel won't display, and these two panels would be shared in the space. Same goes for which method of check-in I use. If I use QR code, then the walk-in and QR code will be displayed, or if I use type ahead only, and it would be already registered in walk-in. So just depending on how you set that up will change the way that this whole tablet layout is presented to you. So what we're going to do here is we're going to print a badge. I'm going to pull up one of my already registered delegates, and this is my name over here, and I'm just going to print this badge. So what we'll see is a pop-up of information over here. It's going to, where does it show? Okay, it's going to ask me to save my badge. I actually wanted to just save it to my badge testing folder, Jacqueline demo, and I'm going to save it here. And it takes me back to the tablet. But I have my badge printed essentially to my pretend printer. I'm just going to open this up, and how I've set up my badge is I've got just a banner placeholder. Let's say I'm pre-printing my badges, so I've got a whole stack of badges with full color, and I run these badges just straight through the printer, not wasting any time on site printing color. It's just a banner placeholder. I've got my event name, my name and surname, event, my company, QR code, and you can customize this pretty much. It has a lot of versatility on this customization. In this case, I'm just showing the outlines to show that this is a double-sided badge, and I would fold it in half through the center over here and clip it at the top. That is a pretty cool example. If I were to walk in to this event, it would be the same functionality, except in this case, because I haven't registered yet, it does say register, whereas a previously registered person would say just print badge. However, it does do the same thing, and I would be able to print badge either way. It would print the badge either way. Same thing with the QR code, it will pull up the form. And if we go to back to EventSpark, I'm going to have my event open over here. I'm going to open up my event function, and I'm going to try to find my delegate quickly among all my thousands of test delegates. And we're going to see that my delegate has attended, and we've got a check-in time in my time zone. As you can see at the bottom right, I registered all of 2 minutes ago. I checked in all of 2 minutes ago on this date. And it does all the same things that the current check-in does, but more. The current check-in functionality does on the EventSpark home event itself, but more, including printing badges. It's pretty cool layout that we've got going here, and we still are able to report on all of our delegates as they enter the event. So the next functionality is lead source tracking. So basically your UTM source, driving your ROI from campaigns or from where you advertise your events. You can set up your event anywhere on whichever platform you want, or through campaigns or through emails. And how you set up your event URL on that specific platform with an extension of how you set it up is what you can include in the URL, and that is how it would track. So one would have to add fields to the delegate to be able to track specific UTM or lead source lead sources. So if you want to break it down between Facebook, LinkedIn, your email posts or your campaigns or however you wish to track, you do have to you would have to separate that if you would like to split it and report on each field separately, but you don't have to separate it on the delegate itself. I'll show you that in a minute. Let me open up one of my delegates. So on the delegate, let's go back to my delegate here. We've got a new field called registration tracking parameters. So once I register, the registration tracking parameters, once you set this up, will display here, all of them, and then you can break them up into each separate field. So just an example, I'm going to go to my LinkedIn and I'm going to click on my new post that I've just, let me just find my posts, this event that I've just added. And how I've added this event is I've got in this URL field, I've got, I wish Zoom would take away this hover thing, how I set up my LinkedIn tracking. So I said LinkedIn equals LinkedIn. And once I register from this, so I'm going to say my first name is I am from LinkedIn, test in. And I'm going to register my delegate, and once this delegate is registered, I'm from LinkedIn, test, we can see that on my tracking parameter, I've got registration tracking parameters equals, it would be a whole string of information if you wish to add the string of information onto your URL or specific to where they've come from, and it's populated that I've come from LinkedIn in this case. Another example is if I bring up my other URL, I've got UTM source equals campaign. So on my organizing entity, I had set these up in this field in this action called select reg tracking settings. And I add the fields that I want to specify exactly where they come from, and the UTM source is specific to my campaign, and the LinkedIn is specific to LinkedIn. And I can add as many as I'd like if I want to map them to my delegate field specifically. But keep in mind that I do have the registration tracking parameters, which tracks everything in a full string. So from this one, I've got campaign XYZ, so I'm going to I am from campaign, campaign at XYZ. So I'm on my delegate now, I am from campaign, and I scroll down to my tracking parameters. So now we have that string that I specified in my URL, and I've been able to identify that this delegate has come from campaign XYZ, and that is my lead source. So basically, to do that, I need to just select on this. You can see at the end here, I have got a question mark, how I want to map it, and what it's called. So this documentation is also on our user guide. It's pretty laid out and mapped out on how to do this. But I think it's a pretty cool feature to be able to tell exactly where do your delegates come from, what ad sources or what campaigns or what platforms do they come from when they want to register to your event. And the cool thing is that if you do post your upcoming events page on your platforms, if you do post your upcoming events page on your LinkedIn, you can include your LinkedIn version of the extension on the URL on that base URL of the upcoming events page, and any event that they register from your upcoming events page on top of the coming from LinkedIn or whichever campaign source you use, that will track too. So it's not just, you don't need to just post the event function. You can post the full upcoming events page with the necessary tracking parameters that you would like.
Thanks so much, Jacqueline. That was awesome.
Great.
Cool. So yeah, really, really cool functionality. This is something we're also going to be spending more time on in the next couple releases. We are going to be bringing out some more scanning capability and just some more general capability around that feature. So definitely something that we are going to be spending more time on. Okay, so to jump back to my screen. Okay, awesome. So now we've basically shown you a lot of the new sort of bigger functionalities that are in the tool. There are a few more capabilities, and one of those, again, has been something that is a long time coming, but something that we really wanted to add. As we've added more and more capability to the product, there's more and more images that you might be uploading. As you may have remembered from our last release, we've got a generic banner you can add. Then we've got large, medium, small, extra small. So you can be super precise on, as that screen scales down, exactly which image is going to be displayed. We've now given you the ability to add additional logos. You've got all this new capability on the delegates and bookings. And if you go to content, you've got the capability on FAQs and sessions. Now that's a lot of content. And one of the things was, how do we actually get rid of this stuff? Like if we want to be cleaning up our environment, deleting last year's events, deleting the year before event. And that's why we came up with a bulk delete capability. So essentially you can click on both of these events. I don't want to actually delete both of them, but you can click on delete. And this is when you'll be prompted with a new custom screen that we've added to the system. And this custom screen is going to ask you, do you want to delete these events? Like, yes. Do you want to attempt to delete any orphaned images? So for those of you who are sort of Salesforce admins or have any idea of how images get stored in Salesforce, they can be hard to find and delete behind the scenes. Like as an admin, they can be hard to delete. And also they can take up your storage. So what we do now is we give you the ability to bulk delete. So you can choose a whole bunch of events and you can delete them, but you can also delete those underlying images, right? So that those underlying images are not just sitting in your files waiting for somebody to go and clean them up. And again, it seems like a small functionality on the front, but it's something that's going to save you a lot of time when doing things like cleanups or even when you're doing your testing. I know a lot of our clients, before you run your big events, you want to be testing that event, making sure it's absolutely perfect for on the day. And you're going to want to delete those at some stage. So definitely the bulk delete capability is something that's really cool. So that's pretty simple. If you don't see it over here, it's just not added to your page. So you will need to update to the latest version and add this to your page, or our support team can assist you with that. Another new capability, which is a bit on the system side, and this is something that traditionally you would kind of rely on us to assist you with. Our system would give you high level failures if there were things like any failures on syncs. So that would be lead sync, contact sync, campaign sync. You might have created a validation rule on your lead that is now not allowing that lead to be synced or created. You might have a campaign with custom campaign settings and our system is not talking to those. Or our system might have skipped some data because there was an error. And previously, you would have to deal with our support desk or you would have limited information to that. So based on the admins that we work with, it's not only business users that we are building these features for, it's also the people that support the business users, which we happy to also assist. And we've built in some additional batch notifications. So for these batch jobs that are running, you can now decide when these batch jobs complete, if they have any errors, notify me. If they complete and they have warnings, like maybe there's limits that it's starting to hit, notify me. Complete if it has any results, notify me. Complete even if it just runs and it doesn't process data. So there's no results, it's just running, notify me. Maybe um, you just want to check that the jobs are running every 10 minutes or every hour, or just always, or never, obviously. That is now, you can switch that on and you can determine who it gets sent to. Now, the cool thing about this is you can send it to multiple emails. It's comma separated. So Jacqueline as well as Kyle now needs to receive these communications. And those don't need to be Salesforce users, right? They don't need to be Salesforce users. So if you're using like third-party consultants or admins that are helping you with your administration of Salesforce and you want to send it to those individuals, you can do that as well. Um, and then there's also retention periods of any batch job logs. So we're going to store that data in logs so that you can query that data at a later stage to make sure that, if you want to do some debugging or whatever the case, you can decide on your retention period. A cool thing about this is that obviously, if you're going through customization, you might want to retain that period for a bit longer because you are adding new features and new functions. But if you're not actually going through customization and you're running the system just every day, you can just set that to a lower limit. Look, you might even turn this off. Like if you're not actively debugging, you can turn that capability off. So that is our batch framework enhancements. There's a couple more things that are coming in our next release around emails being sent and being able to manipulate that, which is really exciting. But for now, this is the current functionality we've added around those batch criterias. Okay, another small enhancement is if you are doing events that are only pay later, you no longer need a merchant ID. So if you are doing events that are only pay later and you do not use any payment gateway, you can do that now without needing a merchant ID. So you don't have to sign up for a payment gateway even if you're not going to use it. Or you don't have to use a dummy code anymore. You can just set it to offline only and you can do those offline transactions. So that's going to help one or two clients on this call. Right. So I do realize that we're getting through time quite quickly. So there is two additional things that I wanted to just close up on. One of those things was around the sessions. So some feedback from the team was, hey guys, we love your email. Like, this is a really cool email. It's showing me this is my thank you for registering email. I can see I've got my digital pass. I can do all of that cool stuff. This is my add to ICS. I can add it. But what happens if I register for an event and I choose specific sessions? Sorry, on content. So if I choose specific sessions, so if I make these sessions bookable, so you'll notice over here that this session is open enrollment. I can set a capacity. I can say the capacity for that session is 10. It's open enrollment. And then just on my event, I've just got to make sure that I allow sessions to be booked. So if I do all of that process, previously the email that the person received included all of the sessions. So regardless of which sessions they chose or not, it showed all those sessions. Now, the email will only show the sessions that you have booked. So when you actually go and choose the 3 out of the 10, your email is going to have the 3 out of the 10, not the 10 out of the 10. So that's another enhancement we have added to our session capability. We have also given you the ability to change when you are registering for an event, the OTP message, that is now customizable. So a few customers asked us, how can they relabel that? Previously in our last release, that was not editable. We have now made that fully customizable in our latest release, which is great for anyone. So you can really describe what that user should be looking for when that OTP is sent and why they should be looking for it when that OTP is sent. Last but not least, virtual events. So some of our clients were having sort of surge issues with virtual events. So if you're having 100 people register at the same time or 1,000 people within a day register for your virtual events, you sometimes may have hit Zoom API limits. So those were limits actually when we integrate with Zoom. So what we've done is we've bulkified that process. If we pick up that there is going to be a large influx in registrations, we will hit the Zoom API as much as we can, and then we will sort of bulkify the rest of those APIs to Zoom so that you don't sort of get that Zoom cutoff on the APIs. Not a common issue, actually, not many people experience it, but for those who do, that is now resolved. So that really does help any clients that are running really big events or events that have a ton of people registering all at the same time, just giving you that capability to know that that data is going to get into Zoom regardless of how many people register. Right. So as usual, a bunch of functions and functionality that we're all super excited about. I know that in this session, I wish I could spend more time in all the nitty-gritties, but we would be on here all day. So if you want to learn more about what we've discussed today, please reach out to us. Reach out to support@sparksmith.com. Reach out to customer experience, which is Noelle. I'm sure she'll leave her details in the chat, and we'll definitely get back to you. We can spend more time with you demoing any capability further. We can assist you with any upgrades to version 3.19. If you don't have that in-house capabilities, we can also help you with training you up. And then last but not least, for any new features, like for instance, our on-the-day application for our events, as well as our badge printing and checking capability, reach out to us and we can get back to you on pricing and exactly how that capability all fits together. Awesome. So that does bring us to the end of today's session. I do see that the team that has been on the session has been sort of furiously answering a whole bunch of questions that came in. I'm just wondering if there's anything I have missed. I'm just going to quickly have a look if there was anything personal. Okay, so maybe just one. I see the team has been really on the ball. One question is, when can you move over to this version of EventSpark? It is publicly available. So if you do have the internal resources, you can navigate to the App Exchange. You can download the latest version, or you can navigate to our client portal and you can download the latest version. I will pop the link in the chat. If you don't have the internal capability to move over to 3.19 and you need our assistance, then simply just reach out to support at sparksmith.com, and then we can get in touch with you and basically help you in doing that. Cool. Then there is a question, how do we get onto the mobile apps? Cool. So best thing is to schedule those sessions with the team. We can take you through how to get the mobile apps plugged in, integrated, et cetera, so that you can also get an overview of them. We can show you a little bit more in depth of a demo of that capability, but definitely get a hold of your support team and they'll be able to assist. Are the mobile apps available to view in Salesforce? Not right now. So you won't be able to find them on the App Exchange, but they will be on your app stores. So the Flock app is already on the App Store. So you can actually go and view the Flock app right now. The check-in apps will be coming onto the App Store. They're going through final review in the next couple of days, weeks. Those will be available. Okay. Awesome. Yeah. And then I just got a question. Are you going to be scheduling some time specifically for those tools? Yes, we will. We will have another session specifically for those tools. So before I leave, I'm just going to pop in our AHA site. This is where you can find the updates information. So if you want to do the upgrades yourself, you can find these here. This is also where you can view our AI assisted assistant. So you can actually search for questions. Hey, how can I create a comms rule? Hey, how do I edit speakers? That tool will assist you as much as it can. Again, there is all of our release documentation here, as well as links to our YouTube channel, which is super informative, had a whole bunch of reviews. And then lastly, on our the wiki that I've just sent you, you're able to submit feedback as well as log a ticket directly from that web page. So if you do want to do that, you can also do that submission there. Okay, and that brings us to the end of today's session. I'd just like to thank everyone who joined today. We really do appreciate appreciate your support and appreciate you wanting to learn more about the product. And just big thanks to all of our clients, each and every one of you. Without you, this product wouldn't be possible. And we're really excited to see the things that are coming into the future. Yeah, and just make use of our channels, make use of our idea exchange. I see a lot of clients giving claps and stuff because I can see their functionality has come onto the table and they're all super happy about it. So hopefully one of you will be next. But thanks again, everyone. Enjoy the rest of the day and goodbye.